Hey everyone, and I will give you €1 for watching this video. But let me first take it back. Or maybe you should have it. But it's too soon to give it to you. Alright, take it, give it back, take it, give it back, take it, give it back. And if we keep doing this an infinite number of times, who will have this coin in the end? Neither of us. We will both have half this coin. Let's bring our situation on paper.
I give you 1, take back 1, plus 1, minus 1, plus 1, minus 1, plus 1, minus 1, an infinite number of times. So how much do you have in the end? Let's call the series S1. If you subtract S1 from 1, you get back S1. In other words, S1 equals half. But what is infinity? Infinity is bigger than the biggest thing you can think of. Infinity means endless, something without any boundaries. An infinite distance can never be covered, or an infinite series never ends. Infinity is weird, and I'll show you why.
Greek philosopher Zeno came up with a bunch of mind-boggling paradoxes regarding infinity. Consider that you had to travel a certain distance x, but to travel x, you'll have to first cover half of it. But to cover half of that distance, you'll have to first cover a quarter of it. Before a quarter, an eighth. Before an eighth, 1/16th, and so on. Hence, there are an infinite number of tasks for one to complete, which Zeno states is impossible.
This sequence also presents a second problem. It contains no first distance to run, because any possible first distance can be divided in half, and hence is not a first distance after all. So, the trip cannot even begin. The paradoxical conclusion, therefore, would be that travel over any finite distance can neither be completed nor begun. And so, all motion must be an illusion. Still not weird enough? Let me give you some more. Euros. Consider that I give you €1, and then €2, and then €3, and I keep on giving you more and more money infinite number of times. So in the end, how much money would have I given you? In other words, what is the sum of all the natural numbers until infinity? Minus 1 by 12. To prove this, let's consider a series 1 minus 2 plus 3 minus 4 plus 5 minus 6 plus 7 until infinity, and call it S2. Add S2 to itself, only rearranging it, and you'll get what we previously declared as S1, which was half. So S2 is a quarter. Now let's consider our actual series, or 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 until infinity. Subtract S2 from it, again with some rearrangements, and you'll get the result that this series in turn is equal to minus 1 by 12. Mind-blowing. But what else can blow is a horn, or a Gabriel's horn. Gabriel's horn is a geometric figure that has an infinite length and hence an infinite surface area. However, interestingly, it has a finite volume. Now imagine that you were to paint the interior of this horn. How much amount of paint would you require? Well, since the surface area is infinite, so you'd require an infinite supply of paint, right? No. Because it has a finite volume, you could fill the horn up with 5 liters of paint and then pour out the paint. And the paint that had stuck to the interior would leave you with a freshly painted interior. But how can something with infinite surface area have a finite volume? Surface area of a body is the total area occupied by its surface, while volume of a body is the amount of matter it can contain. Take a blob of clay and roll it into a cylinder. It has a certain volume and a surface area. Now keep rolling it, making a bigger cylinder. The surface area of the cylinder keeps increasing, while the volume remains constant. If you could roll it to an infinite length, it'll have an infinite surface area, but the volume will still be constant.
But how do we end up having half the coin if we keep exchanging it? How do the positive whole numbers add up to a negative fraction? How could we not move a certain distance? I mean, motion is possible, right?
These discrepancies start occurring when we confuse the physical infinity with the mathematical infinity. Infinity has different meanings in math and physics. Imagine that you had an extraordinary rubber band. In front of it is a sign which says you can stretch this rubber band infinitely. The mathematical interpretation is to say that you can have an infinitely stretched rubber band that at some point you will completely arrive at an actual infinitely stretched rubber band. In the physical world, you'll come across a lot of limitations. Creating such a rubber band would require special resources that we don't yet know of. Also, to stretch it to infinite distance, you should have an infinite distance. But if you can cover that distance, then it's finite. Also, since this rubber band is made up of atoms, it will eventually snap.
But in the world of physics, a lot of boundaries come into play, like distance, time, mass, and various other laws of nature.
Imagine that an infinite amount of apples are laid out in front of you and that you own 4 of them. So, what percentage of apples do you own? In the world of mathematics, you should understand the statement that as n approaches infinity, 4 over n becomes 0. So you own 0% of apples. However, in the world of physics, you and your 4 apples will be crushed into a black hole long before an infinite amount of apples are laid out. Percentages will be the least of your concerns. Also, having an infinite amount of apples should be impossible in the first place. Similarly, we can't keep exchanging coins infinitely. At some point, sadly enough, either of us is going to die and the coin will be with the other. Secondly, if I keep on giving you more and more money, you'll only have a huge amount of money, but that number will still be almost as far from infinity as the number of fingers in your hand. You can never reach infinity. Infinity is always going to be an infinite distance away. Coming back to the Zeno's paradox, even though his argument is logical, we are able to move a certain distance because our body already covers some of it, and so we have done the many initial tasks. So don't let these paradoxes make you go, huh, like the Egyptian god whose name literally translates to endless or infinity. Now the question is that if infinity is so mathematical, where can we visualize infinity in the actual physical world? Infinity mirrors, or the illusion of infinite reflections when standing between 2 parallel mirrors. You'll find them everywhere at any changing room. The science behind this is pretty simple. Light rays get reflected from both the front of the object and from the back of the object. After the first reflection, you see one image in each mirror. The image in one mirror now becomes the object for another. And so after the second reflection, you see a second image in each mirror, and then a third. And this keeps going on and on until infinity. But to observe this effect, one will have to look at himself in the mirror off center. A single person standing in front of the mirror will only see a single image. The infinity of images are hidden behind the first image. Or you could see it in the infinity pool, a swimming pool where the water flows over the edge, producing a visual effect of water with no boundaries. And how is that illusion created? The water level in the pool is maintained to be a little higher than the edge of the pool, which gives the falling effect. The water that falls off is collected in the basin and let into the pool to maintain the flow. But that is not the end of it. You can also visualize a circle as a regular polygon having an infinite number of edges, with every tiny point on its circumference being an edge, which, by the way, is also the reason why a circle has the maximum area of all the geometric figures for any given perimeter.
Now, what if I were to tell you that our world is also infinite? Our universe is roughly 13.8 billion years old, and it all began with the Big Bang. Everything that is around us, or was, or will ever be, you, me, the stars and the galaxies, the dinosaurs, all the inventions we've made, all the battles we've fought, everything was condensed in a singularity. And due to the immense pressure in that point, all matter bursted around in space. But the Big Bang wasn't just an explosion in space, it was an explosion of space. And since then, our universe has been expanding at enormous rates. Expanding where? Towards what?
We don't know. It exists in an infinite realm, probably with infinite other parallel universes. Now the question is, where is the center of this infinity? Well, because it's infinite everywhere, there is no center. Any point can be thought of as a center. So technically, we are the center of our own observable universes. Therefore, when things seem to be going away, remind yourself that everything revolves around you. And once again, thank you for watching.